Now some American perspective, rather, from Washington, D.C. Let's talk to our correspondent, Daniel Renges. Well, Daniel, cybersecurity has been a growing source of contention between the two nations. As we know, the U.S. accused of China of hacking into government institutions, especially big business secrets. There were also controversy about Edward Snowden, who revealed that the U.S. has been doing basically the same. Spying on its own citizens and the citizens from around the world. Can the two nations compare notes on this, and can we expect some breakthrough?
Here's the challenge. I think the Americans are going to put cybersecurity in different sections, as it were. So their point on cybersecurity is related to businesses in America that they believe are being impacted by the stealing of intellectual property by Chinese companies who are then exploiting them. They put that more in the trade and economic side and the business side, whereas the Chinese have legitimate concerns about the level of cyber espionage going on in the United States. So I think what the Americans are going to want to do is try to split them apart. I think what the Chinese are probably wanting to do is say, you can't lecture us about business and that sort of cyber espionage on the trade front and then turn around and we have all these revelations from Edward Snowden saying that you're doing exactly the same kind of things, even worse. So they need to come to some point where they're not talking at loggerheads, they're not taking the two issues away. Somewhere there has to be an understanding, and then they have to move forward on ways in which they can try to minimize the impact, both politically, economically, and strategically, on the relationship of what we've already learned about the two sides' strategy on cyber.
And also, Daniel, we know that trade is going to be a big issue topping the agenda because there are always been trade imbalances between the world's largest economy and the second largest one, a surplus for China and deficit for the U.S. Can the two countries narrow the gap this time? Will they address this issue head on?
Well, the U.S. Treasury has already acknowledged that the yuan has increased in value substantially, and that jobs in China are now more high-value jobs, and therefore the competitive differences aren't as large. I think they'll still bring that up. But I think as well there's going to be attempt on the American side to gain more access to Chinese products and services in China, particularly on the finance side, financial services. And so there will be a reciprocation on the Chinese side to say, well, we still struggle to get some of our investments into the United States based on some fairly difficult rules to understand in the US Congress, the political pressure, and then we have in the administration some of the security rules that are difficult for Chinese firms to anticipate. So I think there'll be dialogue on both sides. But at the end of the day, what they're trying to achieve here is not a sort of political grandstanding. Instead, what they want is a set of understandings and agreements at the end of these discussions, which they can point to and say, these are concrete ways in which we can raise the game, improve the trade relationship, even though we have certain obstacles.
Well.